Well, put simply, it's a lending market. This lending market allows different participants to do different things on the protocol. Lenders, those that provide liquidity, actually earn yields. Borrowers, they amplify their holdings with more assets than their equity, and they do it by depositing some collateral and taking some loans out of the borrowers. So it's essentially a money market that connects those participants on the market.
Yo, GM. Today I'm joined by Kamen, one of the co-founders of Nolus Protocol, a next-gen money market platform built in the Cosmos ecosystem. Nolus is making serious moves in the DeFi space, offering asset-backed leverage, fixed interest rates, and powerful risk management tools that are changing how users approach margin trading in crypto. We'll dive deeper into what's new at Nolus App V2, its revamped UI, stop loss and take profit tools, fee abstraction, and more. This is BlockHunters Voices, the podcast with cool keys from the blockchain space. I'm Joachim Vuj, your host. Come and welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Hi guys, I'm Kamen, founder of Nose.
I usually like to start from the beginning, what did you do before crypto? How did you end up building Nolus?
Yeah, that's a nice start actually. I have been in finance for many years. So I started in Web 2, again, financial products, meaning that I have a lot of knowledge building financial products, building teams around financial products, different stuff like credit cards, banking, delinquencies of banking, big data analysis, and stuff like that. Then I joined some of the big four companies, so I did a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And probably somewhere around 2020, we together with my partner, we actually saw, as the two co-founders, we saw an opportunity to develop everything we have seen in Web 2 and transpose it to Web 3, meaning crypto market, in terms of lending, in terms of products, in terms of actual usage, DeFi, and so on.
And how did you decide to build in the Cosmos ecosystem? I mean, why Cosmos as the foundation? What made it right the ecosystem for Nolus?
We actually researched a lot. At the very beginning, what we wanted to do, we saw different products on the market, like Aave Compound, different lending platforms out there. We saw inefficiencies in it. So we wanted to tackle those inefficiencies. Some of those inefficiencies are like over collateralized lending, high risk of liquidation, and so on and so forth. So we initially created a product that tries to solve those inefficiencies. And then we put it on the ground whether we should be building that on Ethereum or any other chain. And why we decided to go to Cosmos is a couple of things. First of all, it's very interoperable, meaning you can, in simple transactions with easy steps, interact with different blockchains. It's very cheap in terms and fast in terms of transactions, in terms of creating your own layer one app chain, as we did. Fast transactions between users, very easy to scale, very easy to integrate with different networks. So the main idea behind Nose is that we don't hold liquidity, we use liquidity of other hubs. So the more the underneath technology help us, and I believe IBC Cosmos technology helps us a lot to connect to different dexes, it is actually the right choice for us.
And right now, let's get to the main point of the discussion. What exactly is Nolus in your own words?
Well, put simply, it's a lending market. This lending market allows different participants to do different things on the protocol. Lenders, those that provide liquidity, actually earn yields. Borrowers, they amplify their holdings with more assets than their equity, and they do it by depositing some collateral and taking some loans out of the borrowers. So it's essentially a money market that connects those participants on the market. What is different compared to other markets, and how usually it's structured, is that borrowers actually get more exposure at lower liquidation risk. So our platform is not created to be like, let's say, fast money. You want to make a P&L that's immediate, you get 100 times leverage and stuff like that. It's more of a long-term holding platform. You buy an asset, you actually hold the asset beneath beneath the protocol. You hold it in your wallet throughout the whole time. You have the ownership, and then you get more exposure and you get lower risk.
And how exactly does Nolus balance the tension between user empowerment and risk management in leverage?
Well, what we have seen, actually, this was the initial idea. We saw products on the market. You deposit some asset, you get 50% out of it. That was the market back in 2017, 18, 19, and so on and so forth. We decided to shift that model. Instead of you providing collateral and we give you only 50% out of it, you provide the same collateral. We take 3 times more, 150% above that collateral, from liquidity providers. We purchase more of the asset you desire, and we all put it as collateral. So your collateral, instead of your only initial asset that you put in the protocol, actually is the lender's pool's money that have purchased the asset you desire and put it into your smart contract. In that way, instead of you having only, let's say you have 10,000, you get up to 5,000 with other crypto markets. With Nolus, you can actually get another 15,000 from LPs, purchase the asset BTC. You purchase BTC for 25,000, and then the full asset of 25,000 of BTCs actually covers your position and it acts as your collateral. This actually reduces the margin call risk up to 40-50%.
Yeah, so basically that makes Nolus asset-backed leverage with fixed rates, and you actually have a lower margin call risk. I don't know, for example, what's the difference between Nolus and, let's say, for example, Binance margin?
Well, exactly the same. So Binance margin, actually you provide collateral and get some exposure over it. You can take up to 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, but the leverage actually costs you per hour or every 8 hours a different funding rate. Usually, if you try to calculate that for a longer period of time, let's say 1 year, you actually would end up with probably APY of 100 to 150% for holding that position. Interest is twice your position in 1 year. With Nose, we have fixed, never changing interest rates. So 15%, 16%, 20%, depending on the current utilization of the protocol, but up to 20% interest rate per year for holding that asset. This means that we have 5 times better interest rates compared to margins of Binance, for example. Yeah,
Yeah, and actually, the best part is that you have custody of over the funds, right?
the customer itself, you as a user, actually hold the asset, and it would never change or shift ownership unless you decide to do so. So you can use that asset in order to repay the loan. If you repay by cash the loan, you can actually sell, switch, move to another network. It's all up to you. So it's entirely decentralized DeFi lending platform.
And I also like that you guys have that partial liquidation mechanism. Can you tell us a little bit about how it works? Is it safe? Because, you know, in times like this, you really have to be careful not
Yeah.
to get liquidated.
Unfortunately, times are like this indeed. Now, the partial liquidation is an additional feature that we have added, because I gave a short example. You have 10,000 that you convert into a 25,000 of BTCs. Now, if the price drops by 40-50%, you start to be liquidated. As a comparison, on any other platform, you will be probably fully liquidated at 30%. But with Nolus on 45 to 50%, you'll get your first partial liquidation. This means that probably around one fourth, 25% of the assets would go to the DEX and be switched, be swapped towards USDCs and cover part of the position. This returns the asset and the full loan to a healthier level that sells only partially one fourth of your position instead of full liquidation. If the price continues dropping, you'll get another partial liquidation and then another partial liquidation and another partial liquidation until, if the price continues drops, you get eventually fully liquidated, and the amount that it's possible for you to lose is the one that you have deposited as collateral at the very beginning of your loan. But the idea is that you have more safeguards, more time to react, you have more exposure to the asset for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I like this strategy that you have longer time, especially because um, when you use DeFi apps, it's a little bit more, let's say, chunky. It's not like Binance. You know, in Binance you have your own phone and everything, but
Yeah.
when you use DeFi, you have to connect with the wallet. You know, you don't have that. Uh, you can do it instantly. So
Yes.
it's better to have more time, and the fact that strategies are for a longer period of time.
Correct. Yeah. That was the full idea behind it, because the more time you have, it's always better and you can react better.
And what kind of TVL do you guys have right now?
The current TVO is around 3 million. It used to be around 6.5 a couple of months ago when the market was a little bit, let's say, greener. Uh,
Yeah.
that's the max that we have reached, around 7 million TVL. But the transactional volume actually is pretty high. We've reached almost 120 million of transactional volume on the platform since we launched back in May 2023. So this is 2 full years of active or live protocol that we have observed, but the TVL usually on lending market doesn't increases too much, because if you have a lot of ups and downs on the market, people are constantly closing and opening new positions.
Exactly. I know that from my experience as validators. Our TVL is a roller coaster.
Yes, especially when the market is a roller coaster, and it usually it is.
Nolus runs a WASM-based smart contract system. How does that enhance security and performance compared to EVM chains?
Well, that's probably the beauty of Cosmos. It actually allows very fast transactions, very secure transactions. We have completed 2 full audits with Oak Securities and Halborn. We have seen and observed many transactions through those 2 years, and we have never had any one snitch on the blockchain in terms of transactions, in terms of funds traveling from one point to another. It also allows us these kind of smart contracts and how it's structured in terms of infrastructure. It allows us and the protocol to make different transfers to different blockchains simultaneously very cheaply. For example, what we've just rolled out are transactions from our blockchain to Ethereum that take less than 10 seconds. Yes, it has a limit. It's $10,000 currently has a limit, but it would grow in time. It would be possible to increase that in terms of switching between blockchains, and we believe this is the future, right? You have many blockchains that actually transact very cheaply with each other, very speedily, with high speed.
Yeah, and I think everything is gonna change a little bit now because IBC Eureka is gonna go live soon, right?
Correct.
And the first chain that they are integrating is Ethereum, and I think at some point is gonna be Solana too.
Yes, that's how they roll it out. That's what they say. Yeah, that's really essential. I believe this is a cataclysm that Cosmos has been waiting for a long time.
From the
Totally
inception, I mean.
from the inception, yeah, because
Yeah.
as long as you stay, this is like base, like Arbitrum. Every other blockchain has its own merits. It has its own Tor chain, even has its own public, its own users. But as long as they don't interact or don't easily interact with other blockchains, they're just segregated financial systems that would never talk to each other. And that really is not the point of why we're building those products.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened with liquidity fragmentation after all those L2s launched overnight.
Mhm.
I want to talk a little bit about the NLS token. Can you explain how the token ties together the borrowing incentives, the governance, and the long-term sustainability of the protocol?
Yeah, the NOS token actually is the core token behind our app chain, because up until now, every transaction on our blockchain needs to be done with NOS tokens, right? It's a layer one app chain. So in order to transact with our blockchain, you need the NOS token in your hands. It also allows governance voting. Everything that we do is actually put to a governance vote, and token holders decide what to do and when and how and so on and so forth. So those two are the merits that have been there from day one. What we want to put in terms of perks for the NOS token from now on is to add different incentives for people to use and stake it. For example, if you stake, it's like a tiered system. If you stake appropriate amount of NOS, you actually get better interest. You get lower interest for borrowers, higher interest for lenders. You get more margin, meaning instead of 150%, you'll get 250%, and so on and so forth. So the idea is to actually have incentives tied towards the NOS token, which essentially and mostly, first of all, acts as our governance token and as our transactional way of transacting on the blockchain.
You guys introduced the Nolus app V2. It has new UI, analytics, risk tools like stop loss and take profit. Also, I think you introduced fee abstraction as well. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yes, of course. So I mentioned we launched in 2023 May. So since then we have the so-called version one of our app chain, which was designed around Web 2. It was totally designed around how people interact in the Web 2 financial markets, and we put it onto the Web 3. Now with the V2 that we pushed forward a couple of weeks ago, we actually further enhance that to make it even better. How? We provide different, first of all, the usability of the new app is much easier for anyone to understand. It's very easy to interact with leases, with loans, with deposits, with swaps. Everything is one click away. We believe that this is actually a very good spot for people to start using crypto, because this is something they understand from the web 2. We've
And it's
also,
much safer.
it's much better, it's much safer, it's much easier to do, much faster. The new version of the app actually works around 5 times faster compared to the first one, due to optimizations, due to different infrastructure, due to building layers of smart contracts on top. And ultimately, the idea is to add more features. In order to add more features, we needed a very simple UI, first of all, to use. You've mentioned the limit orders, the take profit functionalities. These are quite essential features for anyone actually transacting, whether it's a stock market, whether it's the crypto market. it's sometimes essential to put like a take profit of on your position, or just buy a limit order when the price of atom, for example, reaches 2. And this would allow users to have less time in the platform, but actually actively managing their positions all the time. We've added a lot of graphs, visual representations of your, for example, loans, of your positions, of your history, of the statistics the protocol has done through the past, through the years. So the idea was to actually create something with the feedback of all people through those 2 years, and actually push it forward so that they feel more convinced to use it, and to use it simply.
And right now, if I'm an user and I want to go to the Nolus app, what kind of assets can I use to borrow and lend? Is it diversified?
Well, we try to diversify it. We still are early on that process because I mentioned we actually use the liquidity of other hubs. We don't own our liquidity. We don't have a DEX with our own liquidity to take from. So we connect to different DEXs. The ones that we are connected to are Osmosis and Neutron or Astroport. So the idea is that everything that's on those DEXs and has sufficient liquidity on it is available on our app to interact with, whether it's swapping, whether it's loans. We currently have around 35 assets available. And the only way to expand on those and to diversify further is by connecting to different other DEXs. So we have actually been working in the past 6-8 months on the version 2 of the web app, but simultaneously been working on different options where to add DEXs that are outside of Cosmos. For example, Arbitrum, for example, Ethereum Uniswap, for example, uh,
Radium?
Radium, it's a possibility. Yeah, Torchain, everything that has liquidity, Ripple, that has pools of liquidity that we can use easily in our app. Because once we are connected to those pools, it's very simple for us to make an IBC connection with them, make IBC transfers that usually take 20-30 seconds. So everything could happen on the fly.
Top of mind right now, I don't know if it makes sense on a technical note because I'm not a technical guy, but maybe you can work with protocols with chain abstraction protocols like if you know Particle Network, Universal X, or Gun.Fun, Shogun, because basically they integrated everything. So I don't know, maybe you can.
They integrate everything. I agree in terms of pricing, in terms of oracles and stuff like that, but the actual liquidity is what we need beneath in order to get the asset, because we are actually purchasing the asset for the user. So we need to be connected to the pools on different blockchains in order to be able to interact, transact with those pools, buy the assets, sell the assets, and all so on. But in terms of Oracle integration, that's absolutely possible. So price tracking, price checking, and stuff like that. This is something that we already do.
Also, they are not integrating directly with the pools. How are they doing the swaps?
They're doing the swaps by going to the pool. So we need, in order to create the transactions, we need to go through the pool as well. Whether we do it with them or directly with the pool doesn't really make any
Okay.
particular difference.
Okay, I get it now. So basically, it's the same thing.
Basically, yes,
Yeah.
but with an additional middleman.
Yes, exactly. So it doesn't make sense to have another
No,
middleman.
no,
Yeah, I understand now. Um, you guys have an AI companion, Kai, and
yeah.
you had an upgrade recently. How do you see AI helping users navigate complex DeFi positions?
Well, in our case, Kai is something that we've built in order to actually assist users that are using our protocol to discuss different things with it. So it has a learning mechanism. It has actually a large set of different Q&A questions that we have answered already, so that it begin his learning and his knowledge about nose. And he's pretty, let's say, solid in terms of everything we do. So he's able to explain without interacting with an actual person everything that we try to achieve, how we try to achieve, how you can, for example, create you a demo of your opening a loan, how you can go to earn and actually deposit stables, or you can just talk with it about the general market. It has real-time connection with different sources that it could source, and it actually already has some opinion of where assets are going up and down. I'm not quite certain whether they're correct, but at least it's self-evolving and learning.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic, especially in
Yeah,
these
it
days.
would be very interesting in the next couple of years to see how right those agents would be at the end.
The Cosmos ecosystem is rapidly evolving this year. I could say a lot of changes. How would you describe the state of Cosmos today? What are its strengths, growing pains, and opportunities?
Uh, Pains, I believe I see one large pain from the past couple of years, and this is liquidity. Um, Although there was a small period of like 6 to 8 months where Osmosis actually had much more liquidity in the pools compared to now. Currently and in the past bear market and when they launched, it was actually pretty rare. Having low liquidity, not only for us but generally, does not allow institutional players to join in. So this is a big hurdle for Cosmos ecosystem and for us as well, because if we don't have sufficient pools with sufficient liquidity, we are unable to attract institutional investors who would then attract retail investors to join the ecosystem. This was part one, but I believe part two was UX. How Cosmos has been positioned in the past 5-7 years was a great technology without actual UX beneath it. And this is what we're trying also to solve with our protocol, because we do things the other way around. We actually created a great technology in our opinion, but it also has a great UI. You are able to do everything as you know it through the Web2 world.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how exactly Cosmos is gonna solve all these issues. I think since Magbar and Berry came on board to fully lead this ecosystem is going into the right direction. Unfortunately, we're gonna need some years to do this. It's not gonna happen over time, but it's a good direction. That's one of the reasons that we started paying more and more attention to the Cosmos ecosystem again. Uh, so I'm really looking forward to see builders like yourself and people actually contributing to the eco. Do you think
Hopefully.
Cosmos is becoming more attractive place for serious DeFi builders? I mean, I had the discussion with Avril from Neutron and from Carter, so we have a bunch of people building infrastructure in the Cosmos.
I believe so, yes. I believe that it is actually becoming attractive place because of the underneath technology was there a couple of years ago, but it has evolved a lot in the past 2 or 3 years. With Eureka now things could even get more interesting, because now it's possible for that interoperability that we have discussed, talked so much in the past years to actually happen, to actually see it in real life, right? Not only on theory. So yes, it's happening. I believe it's becoming more attractive place for DeFi builders, especially because those builders actually, the technology of Cosmos is perfectly suited for those builders.
We are in a tough market right now, especially altcoin market. You can really call Bitcoin. Bitcoin is doing well. We have low volume, high fatigue. How do you think about building critical infrastructure in such a moment?
Oh, usually you know how they say you need to build in a bear market. You don't build in a bull market. It doesn't make sense to do that. And only the projects that actually build strongly in a bear market would actually succeed in the next bull market if they are smart enough to preserve their liquidity and token through the bull market, they would actually survive the next bear market. So it's a two-way street, right? I believe it's a tough market. Well, we've launched in 2023, so we've built it since 2021. We actually started building and we had a prototype around the Terra co-ops. So since then, we have been building in a bear market. We haven't built anything in a bull market yet in the past 3.5 years. It has always been a bear market. Well, sometimes it was a little bit rosier bear market with some upstick and green candles, but it was a bear market 2 months later. So I think this technology, and because now we've built in a bear market and we saw different things in this bear market, we are better prepared for the bull market. And this was actually a really good thing for us.
Yeah, I mean, it toughens you up when you build in those times. Do you think we're gonna see actual altcoin season or bull run this year or maybe next year? Because clearly the 4 year cycle, we didn't see an altcoin season. We had like meme coin season. We have other stuff, but we didn't
We have
have
other
the
stuff, yes.
regular altcoin season. So I'm curious on your thoughts how you see the future. Now we have a new president. He's crypto friendly, but
Yes.
he kind of he kind of fucked the markets. So
Well, yeah, he did some crazy stuff lately. uh, I don't know whether we would ever see an altcoin season as we saw in 2021 beginning, because it wasn't only the altcoin season, it wasn't only the bull market of the crypto, it was the stocks as well. We saw valuations on different companies, even startups, that were probably 5 to 10, 15 times above what should have been. So we have seen a huge bubble, and this bubble around this out season also popped. We saw a valuation of altcoins that actually increased from probably 10, 15 times overall. And then it decreased like 50%, but it still has those 50% in it. So the altcoins currently have much more valuation compared to before. So it's very hard to predict 5 10x of altcoin season that's upcoming. I believe there would be some kind of an upstick, probably 2 3x, probably for tokens that are actually building for a long time. They're on the market for a long time. Meme coins, those are one day dilemmas, whether you make money or not. It was obvious that this would not be.
casino.
Yes. Well, crypto is the largest casino in the world, right?
Exactly. And I think what really happened in all those years, different from 2021, is that we have more and more tokens, more and more launches, but we are actually kind of the same people. If you look at the total market cap in the top versus 2021, it was a little bit higher,
Yeah.
but you had more and more tokens launching. Uh, you had all that liquidity into the Solana ecosystem with the meme coins. You had all those tokens launching at high FTV that actually traded only down. So
Yeah.
it's very hard nowadays to even catch 2 3x.
Yes. Especially when the prices are going only down.
Yeah. Uh, and what I wanted to pick your brain about is you clearly have a lot of experience in this, let's say, money market. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the mantra incident because it dropped recently 90%, and you guys already listed it on April 14th. Given Nolus focus on risk manage, leverage, and secure DeFi experience, what's your take on what happened? How do you see and how do those events like this shape your asset onboarding and risk evaluation strategies?
Uh, it allowed us to actually see that tokens that have even high hype tokens like even if they have insufficient funds on dexes, they should be fine as well as long as sexes and arbitragers get those pools and make connections fast. Usually it takes 20-30 seconds for those. The problem with DOM was that it has scarce liquidity and a lot of token distribution compared to scarce liquidity on all sexes and dexes. So even if you are able to do on a Binance or whatever that is, if you put the price down far enough, it is not able to recover fast enough, and all the other markets actually need to liquidate. And once you have these cascaded liquidations, it's over, right? You cannot stop the process. It's there, and everything needs to be cleaned in order to start over. So we need, as a protocol, we have seen and observed that we need a lot of more liquidity for our assets. And as long as it has that liquidity and it has a lot of sexes with volume and uh, actual buys and sells orders that have sufficient funds, then it's much safer for us to interact. We haven't lost any money in terms of people haven't. Those liquidated will have been liquidated properly at the appropriate pricing, which was really nice based on the full 90% drop in a matter of minutes. And what we expect to see was exactly like that, because we didn't have like millions of transactions with them. We had the pool and osmosis was sufficient to cover what we closed very fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the liquidity on Bantra was on checks, right? Not on osmosis.
Yes, on sexes for sure.
Yeah, because they initially started as an Ethereum smart contract, and then they made the chain, and most of the liquidity was already on Binance because OM was listed on Binance before Mantra chain.
Yeah.
I want to get a little bit into some personal questions to see
Okay.
exactly who is Kamen, because it's tough to be a founder in Web3. So I want to know what's the most emotionally difficult part of building in Web3, and how do you process it?
Emotionally difficult. Well, probably gathering the team was really hard to do, because at the very beginning, when once you have an idea, even between we started with two actual people that had this idea, and we wanted to expand into something, but we didn't know how, we didn't know the what technology, we haven't decided whether it's Cosmos or something else. So building a team of builders to actually help you realize what and how you can create this vision into a product was the hardest. Emotionally, it took a lot of efforts. It took hardless hours, sleepless nights, and it took let's say not only time but actually thinking over of consequences in the future, which is not hard, or which is not easy at all.
How big is the team right now?
Currently, we're around 20 people
Oh,
total.
that's something.
Yeah, most of them are of course builders, but we actually did change a lot of the builders through time. So even when we started the technology, we saw some of the people performing very good, some not so good. So we switched, we changed, we took a third party company, then we returned to in-house. So it's a process that emotionally tears you down.
Yeah, you live, you learn.
Yeah, exactly.
That's life, and that's the beauty of life, if you, in a way.
In a way,
And
yes.
Yeah. And what do you do when the motivation runs out? I mean, do you have like some systems or routines that keep you going and focused?
Uh, in terms of the protocol, it's not about, it has never been about motivation. It has been about making something that people actually enjoy and want to try. So if I at some point run out of motivation, I actually go to the feedback page of our website and start reading what people think about the protocol, actually listening to them. Because then once you read, even if you read one good comment that has substance in it, why the person on the other side think it's good, this is a motivation to me.
And besides crypto, what do you do to unwind outside of crypto? Any non crypto hobbies or routines that keep you grounded?
Well, of course, every every person has every something to do. I run a lot. I go to fitness a lot. I enjoy time spent with my family, with my two kids. So once you have two kids, it doesn't really matter what you desire, but what they desire. So it's about their program. So I actually had a tea party in the morning. There are two girls, so
Oh, congrats on
you
that, man.
you need to have tea parties at some point.
Moving forward, how do you see Nolus evolving over the next, let's say, 12 to 24 months? What does success look like for you?
Uh, what we want to do in the next couple of months and even years is to interact and try to expand to different networks. This is what we still have missing. Different DEXs on different ecosystems, something that I mentioned a little bit earlier. Once we are able to interact with them in terms of on smart contract level, then we would be able to go to different clientele, different users. Then they would be able to use the Nose app as Cosmos people are currently doing, fastly, cheaply, simple transactions, easily, and so on and so forth.
And as you said earlier, I would assume the goal is to bring institutional players into Nolus
Correct.
as well.
Yes. Once we have the first part, then we would be able to interact with different institutional players.
We are entering the last chapter of the podcast, and we want to wrap things up with some rapid fire questions to get a sense of where our heads at when it comes to crypto. But for this one, it's just quick top of the mind answers.
Top of the mind answers. Okay.
Yes. One Cosmos project you admire right now?
I think this is the hub. The hub with Eureka. This is really essential.
Favorite underrated DeFi primitive?
DeFi what?
DeFi primitive.
DeFi primitive, meaning like platform.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I really enjoy Levan and Mars and our platform. I'm very much into lending, so those three are top of my mind.
What are the top three crypto apps you personally use?
Outside of Cosmos, Uniswap. From the sexies, I do Binance, and for DeFi, I do Abracadabra. What?
Oh, nice. I haven't heard that name in a long time, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's not very popular, but it has really simple, easy UI. I like it. I like it in terms of how it rolls out.
One piece of advice you'd give to new builders entering the space?
Push forward until you make it. There was a saying, fake it till you make it. So you need
Yeah.
to push, 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 push until it actually becomes true.
What's one non crypto book, film, or person that deeply influenced how you lead or think?
Wow. In terms of film, probably the one with Murdoch. It was really have an impact of how things should not be done. And then in terms of reading, I I do have a tendency to read Jeffrey Archer a lot. So short stories in terms of different, not so easy to understand situations. I believe it has influenced a lot of how I tackle the working environment as well.
And this is the last one, Kamen. Where can people follow Nolus and stay updated?
That's the easiest one. Nolus.io. Nolus.io is our website. In Twitter, Nolus Protocol, and you can shoot any questions in our Kai bot. You can do whatever from the website as well.
Thank you for this, Kamen. It was a blast, and I really enjoyed our talk.
I enjoyed it even more. Thank you.
Have a great one.
Enjoy.